coordinate, like, was that a secret? We didn't talk about the code word.
Yes, we already have our code word.
Oh.
Pay attention, Jerry.
All right, okay. Always a step behind, always a step behind. Okay, I had easy questions over here, but since you guys have a little sass, I'll ask some other questions. Okay, so a question for all of you. This is a great question that came up in the Facebook group regarding your guys' spouses. How do you use them? How do they play roles in the business? And what ways do you involve them? Don't everybody jump in first.
Okay. Who wants to go first? Maybe you first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So for me, my husband still works a full-time job. He is an officer in the Air Force. So our situation will look a little bit different than maybe Melanie's or Michelle's. But I think the most important role that he plays is kind of my pump-up person. He is the one who picks up the slack at home for me. He is the one who provides positive affirmations for me, and it wasn't always like that. In the beginning, this business was kind of a mystery to him because he's a traditional person and a traditional man, and as our roles were changing, I had to be sure to have a conversation with him about, my vision for the business and my vision for our relationship moving forward. And I think the reason that it has evolved into what it has is because I was willing to be upfront with him about it, which I find that a lot of coaches aren't. They don't involve the spouse. And a lot of times when there is a couple and one part of that couple starts to move forward and improve yourself and read personal development and get into this business, it can create a rift because both people aren't moving together. So you have to be sure to protect that relationship because the relationship is so valuable. So now, he is able to pick up the slack at home, like I said, for me, and it doesn't cause friction. It's actually a great help.
So the beginning of my business was rough. So, and I always have Matt's permission to share, but we struggled as a couple. Matt was not on board at all with Beachbody. He actually refused to let me sign up as a coach, refused to spend any of our money to this business. He really did not think it was a legit thing. And it was a struggle. I would try to work my business when he wasn't at home because he gave me such a hard time. I was supposed to be the mom, I was supposed to be the caretaker, and I was taking away that time from our family to build a business that he didn't believe in. And honestly, I wasn't making very much money at the beginning. So for the amount of time I was putting in, I wasn't getting the return on that investment. And he's a money man, he's a numbers guy. And those of you that know Matt, everything is dollars and cents. And so I had to work extra hard to prove that it was a legit business by showing him, by managing my time, and by that communication. And I would flip the screen around and say, look, here's my challenges, and look how much weight they lost, and I'm so excited, like I had a part of this. So I learned quickly that I needed to involve him in the business because all he saw was me on Facebook and who was I talking to, and was there another man, or what was I doing? But I think he let his mind run wild. And so once I got really good at communicating that, I involved him in events. I think that is so important when it comes to spouses, bring them to events. And so now he has taken on the role. He's the professional fun haver. He definitely is. So he's the one that makes sure that all the husbands feel supported and all the spouses have a good time when we go to the events. And he kind of keeps everybody together. And then now he is the finance guy, and I run the business, and he makes sure our books look good. He will help run the kids to and from school now that he is at home full time, which was such a big deal for him to leave his job. But this is a team, and I always make him know, I want him to know that I couldn't do it without him, and that he is a really important part of this. I could not do it alone. And I always tell him that, because I don't ever want him to feel like it's just a one-woman show, because it's not. This is, we're a couple, we do this together, and we're a family.
And I have a lot of the same story as Melanie. If you don't know this about me, I actually became a coach as my Christmas present in 2008 because for the 3 months prior when I had asked, James was like, no, no, no. And then when he said, what do you want for Christmas? I said, I want to be a Beachbody coach. He said, are you kidding me? And so manipulation at its finest. I got what I wanted, and he's happy now. It took us a little bit, but same thing. I got him to come to events. But one of the things that we've done that these ladies haven't already said is we read personal development books, and we read different books. So I get to read, kind of 2 to 3 books a month, depending on what he's reading. And so we'll read and exchange. And so I get to see his book after. He's read it, so I already get to see his notes. And so he's in leadership development in his job as well that he does. And so we get to talk back and forth. In fact, from my presentation, the exponential that I shared with you guys was something that he read in one of his books that he shared with me. And so find ways to find common ground with whatever they do and work together to find their strengths. Same thing, James, the finance guy, he has Mr. Excel document. Let me put that in a chart. Why are you doing that in Word? Let me make this. I'm like, please take it, make it better. And so utilize your spouse's strengths, give them a part, make sure that they have a role in it to where it is your business together, not just your own.
Great feedback. So Melanie, I'll direct this question to you in terms of the systems that you use in your business. What tools, the question was asked in the group, what tools do you use to keep organized and track contacts, invites, follow-ups?
Paper and pencil. Honestly, so I think I've tried every system out there. I've done Google spreadsheets, I've done paper and pencil, I've had, it's called Asana, and I use that for task manager. I will say that is the one thing that helps me the most is I put my to-do list in there and I can schedule due dates and subtasks. But I will say when it comes down to tracking my contacts, tracking like the coaches that I'm talking to, I'm just paper and pencil. I will sometimes use a Google spreadsheet, but I just old-fashioned.
And can I talk to your successful advice base? Mm-hmm. Same thing that I love. When we sit down in Pittsburgh, we do one-on-ones. I think as you guys learn about Successful Five Base, I'll get Mel's number at the end of every month of what she feels like she can do the next month, and it literally is the number at the top of the page, and she'll list out the coaches she's working with and kind of where she's at in terms of understanding their why and kind of their pain points in life, and really coaching them along in the process. And it's simple, right? It's basic, doesn't need to be anything extravagant.
And I like the binder with the Success Club base because I can look back 2 years ago now and I can see all the names and how many people I started January with, how many I ended with. So I can actually now have this binder of 3 years of data that I've collected, which is cool. I think that's cool to look at.
So Michelle, our next question about Shakeology retention. Our programs have changed and evolved from 90 days to 60 days. What do you do specifically with your team if they're on 21-day fix, for example, to help keep Shakeology retention where it should be?
That's a good one. I think retention really boils down to education. How well are you educating your challengers and your coaches towards all of the benefits of Shakeology? And I'm not even talking about the scientific benefits of it. Obviously, we know that as coaches, it's important. But think about your person that's at the very beginning of their journey. And so I always tell people, Beachbody says it's the healthiest meal of the day, and it totally is. But for me, it is my most brainless meal of the day. It is the meal of the day that I don't have to think about. I just throw it in the blender and it's exactly what my body needs, and it's awesome, and it keeps me full, and I'm happy, and it tastes like chocolate. Everybody wins. And so I'm thinking about that person, because think about the very beginning, before you knew anything about eating healthy. It's overwhelming. You work out once a day, but you have to eat a lot more than that. And so when you say it's just going to help you know your people, know where they're at, know their season of life, I deal with a lot of busy moms. And so when I help them understand, like, it's either going to be this or the drive-through or your kid's Pop-Tart that they didn't finish. Like, you're going to have something quick. And so I make sure that not only they understand the education, the science part of it, but that they just understand how it's going to be a regular, functional part of their life to keep them from having to make so many mistakes. And so you have that one meal a day that's totally forgiving because it's exactly what your body needs. It's totally brainless.
Great. So Bonnie, we'll direct this question to you. In terms of helping the business, what aspects of the business or in life do you choose to outsource versus what do you choose to keep and kind of do yourself?
Sure. So for me, as my business started to grow, I started to kind of contact other leaders and say, hey, what are you outsourcing? What are you having other people do? And generally, it's an assistant to maybe answer emails or put information into a spreadsheet for you. But for me specifically, I don't feel that there's any part of the business currently that I can't handle. So instead of having the business part be health, which I feel I have a pretty good touch on, I actually outsourced cleaning in my home or home duties that were taking time away from my business. So if you kind of think about the time during the day that you're the most productive, because time is money for us, our time is the most important for your business. If you just kind of try and think about what could I do in my daily life to add to that time, to add to that golden, 6 hours or whatever that you work. So when I looked at my life, I was like, okay, if I can take away these two stressors, which was daily activities, then I would be more productive in the main thing that was most important.
Perfect. And I think kind of the next question, confidence and motivation is a big part of this business, right? And I think it would be easy for you guys in attendance to think that these three get up every morning, have a ton of motivation, and then in terms of their personal confidence, they're just Johnny on the spot every day. They don't have doubts, they don't have worries, they don't have fears. So let's talk to that a little bit. What are some of the things that, initially, what do you do when you don't feel motivated? What do you do when you maybe don't have confidence to really kind of push yourself, push some of those thoughts out of the way and keep yourself focused on what you're trying to accomplish in the business?
Personal development would be, but specific personal development. I'm the queen of just opening up my bookcase and saying, this is what I need today, and just opening the book and reading until I find it, or going to YouTube and searching for something that sort of reignites my fire again. But I work out, so I think my workouts are a big part of that, and I will listen to music that pumps me up, and then before I go to the computer, I'll read. I'll do my personal development, because the one thing, if we don't feel motivated or we don't feel confident and we try to go to work, we waste more time trying to come up with something witty or do our business, but our brain isn't in it. So if you feel that way, it's like close the lid of the laptop, walk away, get yourself together, and then come back. And there are times I'll even say to coaches, like, just walk away for the afternoon. You're not being productive. It does you no good to sit here. Get yourself together, and then let's come back and talk later.
You know, like the 5-minute rule for working out? Like you don't feel like doing it, but you're gonna make yourself do it for 5 minutes, and in 5 minutes you still wanna quit, then you can. Did y'all do that rule? Okay. Well, you kind of have to have the same aspect when it comes to your business, to where for me, I know that I'm not always going to be fired up to do my email follow-ups. Like most of the tasks that are in this business require discipline. And so you have to let passion and discipline work together, to where I may not be passionate to dig into my email index at the moment, but once I get in there and there's somebody that has a problem and I know that I have a solution that I can help with and I can fix whatever they're struggling with, then my passion is going to take over. But passion wasn't what got me there, it was discipline. And so you may not always be fired up, you may not always be disciplined, but if you'll let one be the catalyst for the other, usually the other one can take over.
Yeah, and I think the confidence piece is the most interesting to me, because sitting in the seats last year, looking at the speakers, watching everyone walk across the stage with such confidence, you start to think, oh my gosh, I don't have that much confidence. I don't wake up every day and just say the right thing all the time. And it's a common misconception that we're up here just like super confident, got everything going on. For me, I'm a really physical person, and all day long, you sit at your computer and your shoulders are down and you're not really breathing, you're not really taking a deep breath. I'm a huge fan of Tony Robbins, and this is like one of his things that he does. So I will, before I send messages, before I send emails, before I do a post that I'm kind of nervous about and I need confidence, even backstage I was doing it, I will literally have a dance party. Not just a fun dance party, but if you get your muscles moving and your blood pumping, it's kind of the same thing as working out. You trick your body into thinking that you're confident. It seriously works. Another trick that I started doing in the beginning, I used to dread trying to have confidence in messages when I was really unsure of what I was saying. So I would literally sit there with a smile on my face like this and type at the same time. You guys laugh, but try it when you go home. It seriously works, because there's like thousands of muscles in your face. And your muscles are actually wired to your brain, so they send a signal to your brain when you smile that you're happy. So you're tricking your brain with your muscles. It's science, trust me. You can read it on the internet. Okay, it's on Google.
For sure,
It's for sure. Wikipedia said it, okay? But if you do those activities with your body, you're not as in your head. And then you can finally feel free enough to speak with confidence and not be constantly overthinking and overcomplicating. So trick yourself. That's my advice.
I like it. I like it. So one more question, and then we'll open it up to the audience. So Mel, we'll direct this towards you. Kind of a tough one about personalities. So maybe looking at the color code, maybe looking at gems. Your team has grown a ton. You have different personalities. Your coaches are at different spots in the business. How do you approach them so that you're approaching them in a way that's specific to their life or specific to their situation based off of what motivates them?
So I've done this a couple of times. I started with the Personality Plus book, was where I started, with the color code more recently, and actually categorized my entire team based on what their personality style was, because I was finding that I was having a hard time connecting with certain personality styles on my team. So for example, like the blue personalities.
Wow. That's incredible.
The blue personalities, I would know that I had to be extra sensitive, and see, that was our trigger, you get that? Blue. How did you forget that? So, no, being serious, but seriously, with the blue personalities, I could not pressure them into doing something. I had to really make sure that there was that personal connection, there was that relationship. If I set a deadline with those people, they would sort of retreat. But if I told a red personality that we had to push for this goal and this was the deadline, they were all in. They were fired up about it. And in yellow, if I tried to tell the professional fun havers that they had to sit still for 3 hours, they were checked out. I couldn't give them a goal, right? And so I started to look at, okay, when I do an incentive every month, how can I change it? How can I look at my team and make sure that I'm rewarding people for not just reaching a goal? How can I make it fun? How can I make certain things a game? How can I have a personal connection? And so I would always think about, when I was motivating my team as a whole, I would think about it when I would go to present a concept on a team call. I started to think about how can I speak to all those different personalities? How can I kind of weave that into my team call so that I'm always speaking to everyone? And then on a personal level, when you get on a team call or a one-on-one call with that person, for a while I actually sat with the book and I would read that person's personality style before I got on the call, and I would have to train myself how to speak to that person, certain words to use. And that has helped me so much with understanding my coaches, because I tend to be that red, go, 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 I just get it done, do whatever it takes. And I was burning some bridges at the beginning of my business, but I feel like now it's something that I continue to work at. It helps with your team culture and your team dynamic too.
Perfect. Great job, you guys. So let's open it up over to this side. We'll start on this side first, and we'll kind of work across the room. If you guys have a question, obviously raise your hand. We've got mics that are roving, but if you would, when you ask your question, please stand, tell us your name, tell us where you're from, and then ask your question.
Hello, Melissa from Texas. I wanted to know how many team pages you have once your team gets so big. When do you encourage others to make their own team pages, and how do you separate that?
Anybody specific you want to answer?
No?
I can speak to that. So I actually feel a big portion of my success came because I made my own team page right away. Because when you sign up a new coach, you don't want their coaches to view you as their leader. You want that coach to be viewed as the leader. So I don't push them out of the nest per se, but I do encourage them, once they start to build a team or reach Emerald, to make their own kind of separation. And that's actually in my new coach training, talking about just opening a Facebook page as a safe place for the people that they recruit. But I feel like separating that for yourself automatically shows that you're a leader to the people that you're bringing into the business. Me personally, I have a large team page, so it's kind of like the family team page of everyone. And then I have a PS page, so too.
Great. How about from this middle section? Okay, Arnold?
I'm Michelle Harris, and I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I just wanted to ask, I know we talked a lot about getting started right calls and Success Club and really getting them engaged in that right away. But how do you get your new coaches started with Success Club right away and not completely overwhelm them with worrying about those numbers as well?
Can we answer that? So I talk about Success Club from the get-go. It is the number one thing when I get on the phone, but I don't talk about, I say we're gonna hit Success Club your first month, but we're gonna do that by starting a challenge group together, and your goal is to invite 3 to 5 people to join that challenge group with a challenge pack. And so I say, you can do it, 3 people, you can do it. And I just say, it's just a matter of fact, it's not hard. I never say the word hard, because it's not, it's easy. And if you do these simple tasks that we're gonna talk about, you'll be totally fine. So I just make it more fun than anything. And then to get coaches to hit Success Club, I think I must talk about it, and my team knows this, until we're blue in the face, right? Every team call, every call we're on, every group we're in, every week, I am always talking about where we at with Success Club. That's your gauge to say, you know, that you're having success in the business. And that's sort of how I talk about it, and it works really well.
Great. You said blue and you guys can switch lights, but anyways. Over here on the right-hand side. Here we go.
Hi, my name's Erica, and I'm from Florida. Question for you about helping door coaches start to reach out into their cold market. How do you encourage them? Facebook groups, people that like to comment on their like pages, Instagram. How do you train them to go into their cold market?
I think that one. So the cold market, there's not like a specific place that everybody needs to go. It's whatever market they're most comfortable in. So if they're having success on Facebook, then they need to concentrate their time there. If they're having success on Instagram, then they can concentrate their time there. But the reality is, we make it so much harder than it should be. I don't know if y'all watched The Big Bang Theory, but there's a great episode with Sheldon where he's trying to learn how to make friends, and he goes to the bookstore and he has to buy this children's book called Stu the Cockatoo is New at the Zoo. And so I always use that with my teens, where I'm like, don't make it harder than it is. You're just trying to be friends with somebody. If you ask somebody, do you want to be my friend? And they say no, then you know you just failed my Team Beachbody coach interview. I'm so sorry. You know, but don't make it harder than it is. Just try to make friends, try to relate to people, and see who comes out to you. But don't make it harder than it needs to be.
My question, as a follow-up, you can't count that as personal development. Big Bang
Big
Theory.
Bang Theory? Sure you can.
Okay. All right, moving back over here on the left side. Okay, Kim, thank you.
Hi, my name is Ayana from New York. My question is about new coaches and getting engaged in coach basics. You know, across the board, we have a combination, mostly discount starters, less business runners in the very beginning. But when you put them into coach basics, how do you get them engaged? Do you let them go in the middle of it, or do you encourage them to stay in so that coach basics is fresh to them when they're ready to run? How do you get them really going in the beginning?
I let my coaches decide if they want to be in Coach Basics, so I send every coach that signs up a welcome email. I don't discriminate if they signed up and they want to just get results first, or if they are a business builder from the beginning. They all get the same standard welcome email that gives them the option to opt into my personally sponsored team page, that gives them the link to the team call that I run, and then I talk about when my next Coach Basics group is going to start. And they have to respond back to me and let me know where they'd like to go. And if they don't respond, I would just automatically put them into a challenge group, and I let them decide when they're ready. And because they're a coach on my team, they'll get my weekly coach emails that say, this is the team calls, here's the challenge groups, here's when my next coach training starts. So they can opt in at any time. And then to keep them engaged once they make the decision that they want to be a coach and they want to learn the business, they go into a closed Facebook group. But I think the thing that works best for me is the Zoom calls. I do a once a week Zoom call for that entire 4 weeks of Coach Basics, and it's like every week they get on that Zoom call, they're reinvigorated, and they are more engaged because I actually reiterate how important it is for them to check in daily and how I hate preaching to the choir, and I would just love it if they would comment and give me a daily check-in, and then I see them re-engage again for a couple of days, and until the next call, and then I say it again. But I just find that those Zoom calls, that would be like the secret sauce to Coach Basics for me. I don't know, do you guys do it differently?
I actually start a chat with everybody in that Coach Basics group that I started. So basically on the action days, I will send them a little message like, hey guys, I don't know if you saw this today, but it's really important. And that just kind of nudges them in the direction like, oh, this group is important, I should be concentrating there. But it's the same kind of thing as a Zoom call. Like if they see you're interacting with them, then they'll interact with you back. It has to be give and take.
How about another question from the center? Arnold?
Hello, Alicia Carpenter from Maryland. This question is for you, Michelle, because you said you're Beachbody old. How do you handle and support your long-term customers after the challenge is over? I'm sure you have customers that have been following you for years. How do you give them that support without them going coach?
Okay, so I have a group on Facebook that's called My Graduates. And so anybody that has graduated from one of my challenge groups gets to stay connected to me in that group. And so that's where, I still post in there regularly and check in with them. And I have a cover photo that kind of gives them an idea of something that they can post, like Monday Motivation and Tasty Tuesday and Workout Wednesday, to where they can kind of still stay engaged. Not everybody on the page does, but it also gives me a great place to go to where when we got a new Shakeology flavor or a new workout or Beachbody on Demand, it's a great way to kind of connect them to what's next, to go in there and see who's still engaging or who has maybe checked out and might need an individual message from me. And so the Facebook group for continued support has been awesome for me, and I pull still, 2 years down the road, whatever, somebody will come to me from that group and say, okay, I think I'm ready to be a coach now. But it's just a great way to stay connected to them.
Great. Mr. Matheson?
Hi, I'm April McDonald from Charlotte, and one of my biggest goals for 2016 is to create leaders. So I want my diamonds to be star diamonds, and so I was brainstorming, started a group chat. We have a Zoom call scheduled with my diamonds next week, but then I'm like, what do I talk about? So I have step one, and I don't really know where to go from there, and I don't want it to be so basic that they're like, I don't want to get on this diamond Zoom call, they're so lame. So do you have any suggestions from any of you what to do with your diamonds to dig deep and get them to be leaders?
Yeah, I do this. All right, so I do this coffee conversation every single Wednesday morning, and it's not just my personally sponsored, now it's my whole organization. Anybody that's a diamond goes into what we call our rising stars. And so every Wednesday I do something to help them build their business as leaders. So the leadership ladder would be a great topic to talk about because we want to try to get them from diamond to 2-star. We want to start helping them with planning because we want them to get to team leader and organizational leader so you can work on the skills that they need to know to get there. The elite and premier requirements. Every month, how I put my marketing strategy, I will literally walk all my diamonds through my marketing strategy. Like next week, that's what our call will be. I will help them anticipate, the rises and falls in the business and help them strategize. If it's a slow month, that's when I get on that diamond call. We brainstorm ideas to help people get to Success Club. So that diamond is like you sit down and maybe brainstorm a list of things that they struggle with or ask them, and then that can help drive the content that you come up with each week. And I prepare like a team call for that group.
And also, don't overthink it. Like, you're a star diamond, right? So list out the things that you're doing in your business currently, and then talk about those things. A lot of times, people just need an accountability. So the fact that you're already scheduling a Zoom call is already 5 steps in the right direction. But don't stop yourself before you start because you don't think you have anything valuable to say. You got here, now just tell them how.
And then also just develop systems to let them lead. Like I have a page for just my diamonds and star diamonds, and I started something this year that Julie Ford has shared with me, just this weekly Diamonds Take the Lead program, where every week in that group, one of our team diamonds is the diamond that's taking the lead that week. And they post like a 5-minute video Monday through Friday, where they'll share their story of how they became a coach. They'll share how they implement the 3 vital behaviors. They'll share something that's going really well in their business. They'll share something that they're struggling with, that they're working to overcome. And then they kind of have a free day on Friday to share something else, that anything of their choice. But a lot of them thrive when they're given opportunities to lead, and just the opportunity to lead makes them take the next step of leadership. And so don't necessarily think that it's something that you have to teach them or show them. Allow them to do it, and they'll do it more.
I like that. Let's take 2 more questions over here, Kim.
I'm Jamie. Jamie from Toronto. I'm curious, what success have you had with male coaches? And do you do anything differently? I think I know the answer, but I'm curious, do you do anything differently with them?
Alrighty then, great question.
That's a great question. So I don't work with a lot of male coaches simply for the fact that I don't know how well they're going to relate to me and to my life. But I do have several male coaches in the network that I really respect. And so if somebody comes to me and they want to be a coach, I will connect them with a coach that I think that they will connect with better than me. And I think that that is going to be a much better service to their business than me just trying to take them for 2 more success club points. I would rather give them to a coach that is going to be able to meet them where they're at and be able to meet their needs better than I can. Follow that.
I mean, I have a handful of guys on my team, but I treat the men just the same as I treat the women. But I get on the phone, and so I've definitely messed up, you know, with some of the guys. I actually did a guys coach basics, and I took all the guys in my organization and I put them in a coach basics, and then I had 4 guys that I asked in the network to speak on those 4 calls. And I realized that those guys had just the same fears that the women had. It was unbelievable how insecure their confidence was. And that was sort of a turning point to me, where I couldn't view them as they had this confidence. And so from that point forward, every guy that I've signed up, I get on the phone and I'm like, okay, tell me what you're thinking, and we go through. So it's basically the same as I would do with a female coach. But now I'm a little bit more aware because I lead that group. So same thing, no different. Just you have to understand your coach and what they want to get out of the business.
Great. Let's take 1 more question. Arnold, front row.
Hi, Allie Tessitore from Tampa, Florida. My question is about calls in general, because as you grow, I feel like I'm doing 2 to 3 days of all-day one-on-one calls, doing my uplines calls, and I feel like my time is getting consumed with phone calls. So what is your example of, do you do like get started right group calls? Do you do emerald group calls? Like how do you maximize your time with each coach, but then make it more team-wide? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, how would you schedule, like I know you said Melanie, morning calls, but I feel like I have a call literally every single day. I have 3 kids, my husband travels, and like, I lose focus of my own business and calls.
Do you schedule calls with every single coach?
Well, I've been doing that where they sign up, they do one-on-one calls, but it's to the point where it's too big now, where it's like this week I have 4 days of 12-hour one-on-one calls. It's so much. And I'm very personal, and I feel like I have to start changing that dynamic. So I'm just trying to figure out how have you done that with growth? How do you do the calls? Is one-on-one more earned? How do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to set up systems where everybody in your organization can get pieces of your mind, where they can get things that you've learned. So that's group calls, that's videos, that's things that you've done years ago, months ago, that they can still go back in the archives and learn from. But then your time has to go to your leaders and your doers. And the best way to get that is by looking at the leadership ladder to see who is really doing the activity, because you will get more from somebody that gets it and owns it and just needs some skills that just need to be honed. And so I say, you've got to get to a point to where you realize, like, okay, everybody has access to my mind and the things that everybody needs, but then my doers and my people that are really working and growing right now, I've got a system to give them my time.
And I would say that when I started, I tried to do calls with everybody, and then it got to the point where I was doing calls and they weren't actually doing what I was telling them to do. And so I just felt like it became a friendship session where we were just chatting on the phone every week. And so I learned this from somebody, and I don't even know who to give credit to, but somebody told me, give them an assignment to do before you set up the next call. So I started to say, like, to the people that were not following through, okay, before our next call, I want you to report back, and whether it was sending me their VAT, or they had to come back with invites, or they gave a report out, and then I would say, and then we'll schedule our next call. And it was funny because 9 times out of the 10, they never messaged me back, they never gave me the assignment, and I was like, okay, they just don't have skin in the game. So I think that was one thing that really helped. The other thing is I'll do one-on-ones with all of my new coaches, and on that call, I will say, now I'm gonna let you determine how often that you wanna talk to me. Do you need to talk to me once a month? Do you need to talk to me every other week? Or is it an every week sort of thing? I say, you drive the bus. When you want to talk, let me know. I will always make time for you, and I will set up a call. And so then there are people in my business that they don't want to talk, they just want to do. And then there are other people that they just need a once a month, and they have my little acuity schedule on LinkedIn. It'll just pop up, and I'm like, oh, they needed to talk to me this week. Or if I haven't heard from somebody in a while, I'll be like, hey, you want to chat? So, you kind of have to get a flow of what you want to do. I offer so many, like a team call and a coach basics and free vitals, and pretty much, for the most part, unless it's a personal issue, they can get what they need from that, and then the one-on-ones are just specific topics that they need help.
Yeah, and you're also teaching people how to treat you, right? So I don't know if you use a scheduler currently, but acuity scheduling is free, and you can literally make your own hours. So if you don't want to be doing one-on-one calls all day long, only make on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you can schedule one from this time to this time. And then that person might have to wait a week to have a call with you, but then you're giving yourself grace, filling your cup back up before you have to get on the phone again. So just be a master of your own time. Teach those people how to treat you.
Great. I think it's been an incredible session. You guys, thanks so much.